Hello, everyone. It's Kat with Cat Photo again. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, today's video is going to be a continuation of a couple of days ago when I posted a video of Jasmine at Bombay Beach. We did a couple of portraits in the afternoon, and this is a continuation, but just at nighttime. So, as you can see, these are straight from the camera. None of these have been altered. Um, what you see is basically what you get. So we're going to edit one of these for tonight. Again, a lot of these are really good compositions. If there was one that you really liked that I haven't done, please drop me a line and I'll go ahead and make a video from that too. But for the purpose of today, we'll go ahead and edit this one. Again, I'm doing a preset here. Preset adaptive polish portrait, but this time I'm going to slide that slider to about 130 for the amount for a little bit more of a change. Now for the exposure, we're going to pop the exposure up a little bit. We're going to reduce the contrast as usual, reduce the highlights, and maybe increase or reduce the shadows a little bit. Now, sometimes I do like to pop the white in just because that kind of gives more of an effect for the subject. But again, you have to also be very careful with popping in any type of whites or perhaps even contrast, as those two elements, they do tend to change up the skin tone a little bit. So just be mindful of that, counterbalance that as you see fit. Now, again, I think this photo is pretty good. For the most part, I think that these were captured fairly good as far as the exposure and contrast goes, but I always believe that there's improvement to be made, so I'm just trying to do that. And again, one thing that you can possibly do, and you've seen it in previous photos of mine, if you're kind of getting lost in those details and the um, subtleness of it, you can always slide the slide bar to the extremes, whether it's the extreme left or the extreme right, and then just kind of like work your way to a comfortable setting in the middle. Now, this method that I'm using really helps me. If, again, you're getting lost in those subtleties, then you can also just do the before and after and kind of do like a comparative and contrast. Do you guys have the tendency to focus on the small things like I do? I know it's crazy. You can always get down a rabbit hole when you do these things. But yeah, I can spend all day with tweaking it just a little bit, maybe a tenth of a point, and then I think that makes all the world of a difference. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. What do you guys think? Comment below. All right, so for the tone curve, again, as mentioned, skin color does tend to change a bit when you do alter the contrast, dehazing, etc. So again, I'm just counterbalancing that by reducing the orange a little bit. Now, sometimes when you do reduce the orange, she or he will look pale. So to counterbalance that, sometimes you can go into the reds and pop in some reds a little bit too. That tends to help. Now, as you can see, I'm tweaking the reds. I'm also tweaking the oranges, but for some reason, I'm still not getting that effect that I want. So maybe the yellow was also something that you could alter. Tone curve. Let's talk about tone curve. She is still looking a bit warm, so I'm doing the tone curve just to see, just to balance it out and see what we can do to neutralize her a little bit. And if you hear any noise in the background, possibly me shuffling, scratching on the table, it's not me, it's my cat. My cat likes to come in here and bother me at the most inopportune time. So that's what you hear in the background. Again, these subtleties make the world of difference. What I'm trying to do is just trying to neutralize the overall tone and curve of this photograph here. It was a very warm tone, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I just want something a little bit more neutral. Nothing too cool, nothing too warm, just something right in the middle. Before and after. Okay, so we're gonna pop a little bit more color now back into her, because when I was doing this before the tone curve adjustments, I didn't want her to look too orange, but then every time that I reduced the orange, she just looks pale. So I figured that it might be the tone curve that we needed to adjust more so than the mixer. Okay, I think that's pretty good. What do you guys think? All right, so color grading, I don't know if I'm going to go ahead and do that. So, the things that I am going to do for sure are the lens corrections, lens blur. I am going to add some vignetting into this picture. I'm not going to fool around with the grain. Color grading, let's just see what we have. Ooh, that looks nice. Um, you know what? Wow, that's nice too. So honestly, y'all, I wasn't going to fool around with the color grading because I knew that I could get myself into a world of trouble of just doing that, but I do like the cinematic effect. So maybe we'll go with it. What do you guys think? Should we do some color grading? I think so. All right, guys. What would you have done? Would you have stopped or would you keep on going like I do for the perfect combination of colors here? Yeah, I'm leaning more towards the green and possibly the orange. We'll see. We'll see what we have. Let's go through these. Let's see the midtones, the global, the highlights, the shadows. Let's play around with all of these. Yeah, that looks pretty good, but I think that's just too much. A lot of times, again, sometimes if you start with the extremes and then work your way toward the middle with the slide bars, the color grading wheels, a lot of times that really helps, just to kind of see if you like that particular color. Um, in this case, I think I kind of know what I want, so I'm not tending to go through to start with the extremes first, but and that is another technique that you guys can implement. when you are editing photos, start with the extremes, work your way toward the middle. I am liking that yellow orange though. But at the same time, I'm also liking the green too. Yeah, that looks pretty good. What do you guys think? Okay, so originally I was just going to edit and post process this photo without any type of cinematic colors. So, what I'm doing is I'm making another virtual copy of pretty much just the edits without the actual color grading. Guys, I'm sorry for the background noise because now um, my cat and my dog are playing with each other. And yeah, sorry about the noise, guys. All right. So I think we have to look. What do you guys think? Do y'all like it? All right. One thing I'm going to do is clean up the surrounding area. So I'm going to go ahead and remove some of this debris here. Now, the one thing about the Lightroom Classic upgrades is the generative AI is usually a default now. And so, if you want your computer to go faster, if you have an old computer like I do, um, if you're just making minor adjustments, minor omissions to your picture, then just uncheck that use generative AI command. It goes much faster. All right, I think that we're pretty good with that. We'll add a linear gradient to the left of the picture to darken up that ground there. Again, we want to make sure that the subject is clearly the first thing that people see. So, any brightness towards or any brightness on a photo that's other than the subject, we want to mitigate that and reduce that while at the same time still keeping the details. We'll add a masking, um, couple more radial masks here. The first one that I'm doing is to brighten her up without, again, creating that halo effect. And by halo effect, I mean if you look at the navigator thumbnail and you see clearly a ring of brightness around the subject, then basically you've over adjusted her. You know, it's not looking natural. You can deviate from that by either adding more feathering to that adjustment or just not adjusting the brightness as much. Now, the second radial gradient that we'll do is we're going to invert it. So I'm basically putting the radial gradient on her, but I'm inverting it to where it only adjusts for the background of her. And I'm going to darken that up a little bit. Look at that. Look how cool that looks, y'all. That's so moody. That's so cinematic. I love it. Now, I think what we need to do now is reduce the shadows a little bit because the ground you can barely see. Again, I kind of want to just, I want to make this natural, but still cinematic. There you go, before and after. I like that a lot. Hopefully, you guys do too. If y'all hate it, then comment on that too. I don't care. Now, don't forget about the previous copy that we made. I right clicked on this photo. I went into copy settings and pretty much I'm going to check all of these settings with the exception of the color grading. That's probably what I should be doing at this point, is just check all and then uncheck the color grading. But a lot of times I like to overcomplicate things. And then now I'm going to click on that virtual copy and give it a few seconds to load. And I'm just going to go ahead and paste those settings. Merge. Okay, there you go. So that's pretty much it, before and after. All right, so we got a cinematic setting here and we got a natural looking one. What do you guys think? Like, comment, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. And again, thanks so much for tuning in. Take care.